there's a strong law enforcement presence. So we'll just leave it at that.
Oh, now there is.
So yeah. Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry. I had to throw that in.
So bad. Oh my God, so bad. That wasn't even that was totally by accident. Oh yeah. I was smoking turd to hell for that one. On this episode of the John 1911 Podcast, Trump's last days, nuclear bunker busters, SCOTUS blows it, Parlor, and Dominion. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is the unbelievably important and topically relevant episode 200 of the John 1911 Podcast. Danny, it's been a minute since we've gone live. Has anything been going on in the country since we last spoke?
No, things are pretty peaceful and quiet.
Hold on, wait. What was it? Mostly peaceful? Would that be a fair phrase?
How about if we use? I don't think there's an adjective to describe what's going on in this country or a superlative right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, you know what? I'll stick with mostly peaceful for right now because hey, it was mostly peaceful protest. So, you know what? I guess we'll just dive right into it. The first thing I need to do, because this is coming fast and furious, pun intended, I have to timestamp our conversation because the reality is every 5 minutes stuff changes so much. Something like incredible can happen and we don't talk about it because it happened 5 minutes after we hung up. Today is January 10th. It's 6:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at East Coast, and I am within striking distance of the nation's capital. There has been a lot of stuff going on in the news, and I guess we're going to talk about it. So we're going to assume everybody that's listening to this podcast, you know everything that's happened. Because as a matter of fact, many of you probably know more than what I know, say for the last, 36 hours, because I've been kind of out of pocket. So is there anything that's popped up, Danny, say today or the past 12 hours that, you think I should know before we talk so I don't make an ass out of myself?
Yes. First, the price of any buffalo headdress just went down. So if someone is hoarding something like that, it's worthless.
Yeah. So wait a minute. You mean that guy in the middle upper west? He's got a shipping container full of synthetic buffalo skin clothing from China that he's been waiting to corner the market on. Well, you know what? But you know what? That's a good way to start this conversation because, look, I'm going to stay positive because I'm a pretty positive person as much as I rant and rave on this podcast. I'm a student of history, and I truly recognize, things in perspective relative to the arc of development of cultures and places and time. And we've had a lot of things happen in this country repeatedly that this isn't like people that are uneducated or people that are inexperienced or, don't really understand their history might think that this is the country's going to fall apart because of what happened, the thing that happened on Capitol Hill. But the headdress guy is a perfect example to explain how we got here, okay? Because when that happened, I remember seeing that dude, and there's a photograph of him standing in. I don't know if he's on the House side, but there's a photograph of him, and then there's a little skinny dude with a Trump flag to his left, and then to his right is a more rotund dude. It looks like Duck Dynasty, who has a supposedly, I don't think I've really seen it. The Duck Dynasty looking guy has a hammer and sickle tattoo on his hand. And within hours of this incident, there were people that we would know, people that the listener would know. Maybe not. I'm not saying it's a an anchor at a news station, but pundits and people bigger than we are were publishing that photograph and saying all three of those guys were Antifa, and saying that Antifa had infiltrated the crowd. And they were using this story as an example. And the Buffalo Head guy specifically, I saw posts on the internet and pseudo news services that were saying Buffalo Head guy had been seen at these, I don't know, anti whatever rallies, out west somewhere. And he's with, like, they were saying he was with Antifa, BLM, communist, leftist. Now at the recording of this podcast, I do not know what that guy is, but here's what I have seen since then. Well, I've seen photographs. They were trying to say that guy was an Antifa guy, and there was a photograph of him in similar garb with his tattoos, and he had some sign, and it was it said something like he's something associating him with Q or QAnon, which I still don't truly understand. And the way it was, the photograph as it was published by the right media were saying this guy's a leftist. But I looked at that photograph and I'm like, is he so he's trolling QAnon? Like, I thought maybe it was like a joke, like he was being ironic. Like, hey, you dumbasses, I'm from QAnon, and he has this crazy outfit. I'm like, okay, maybe this is a leftist thing. Well, then a couple days later, or within probably 24 hours, really, there's stories about Buffalo Head guy and how he's known as the Q shaman or all this stuff. And he's like this almost celebrity guy that runs around. He was at an anti lockdown rally, which I guess would be a right-leaning rally somewhere, and the people were taking their pictures with him. There's apparently there's photographs with him. There's a photograph with him, and it looks like the guy, but he's wearing a suit, and he's with Rudy Giuliani, unless that is fake. So here's the problem: we have people in this country who are consuming the news wherever they consume the news. Okay? You consume it at MSNBC or you consume it from Sean Hannity. And each one of those outlets have told you something completely 180 degrees different. You literally have two completely polar opposite versions of whatever, this news story is. And that's scary. And that's really kind of the issue of what's been going on with all of this stuff. Because stuff is reported, and then it gets, it's not reported, but it's published, okay? And then it gets shared, and it gets repeated, and then people share it, and they see it on the internet, and it's like, well, so-and-so shared it. Well, this is true. I've seen this. And this is an example. Okay, I'm going to go back to election night. I remember we talked about this on this podcast. Do you remember the felt tip versus ballpoint pen?
Right, to where the balance wouldn't be accepted if it was used.
Yes, and they had shown there was a staff member, and this, I believe it was in Arizona. There was a staff member working a polling station, and he was going around people giving them pens, and I guess he was giving them felt tip pens. And some people were like, "What the hell, dude? That the scanner doesn't work for the felt tip pens," and like this guy was going around, telling everybody this is a scam, and like, "Did you get a felt tip pen?" Yeah, they gave me a felt tip pen. One person even claimed that they took their pen from him and gave him a felt tip pen. And, it was like, what? Those sons of bitches. And this story happened. Okay. And I was like, then I guess the Arizona Board of Elections released a statement. They were like, yeah, felt tip pens work. This isn't anything. And so, Here's the example. If you watch the news from the right, the felt tip pen scam. If you watch it on the left, it's not real. But then here's what happened. The GOP, the Arizona GOP was filing lawsuits in Arizona. And I specifically remember because we talked about this, and they cited one of the issues was the felt tip pen thing. And that has never been rectified. I don't know if Arizona GOP dropped that. I don't know if it was refuted as being invalid, or if it was a conspiracy theory, or if it's legit, or if it's one of those things like, well, you know, it breaks the rules, but it's not enough to affect the outcome of the election. And that's what's happening. Is you're seeing this stuff constantly, and nobody is adjudicating, and this is where I'm going with this. Nobody is adjudicating this to the benefit of the American people. In my opinion, and I might get in trouble for saying this, I don't think Congress is the one that's to blame for this. I don't think Nancy Pelosi or Mike Pence. I truly believe this is John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. And they rejected case after case after case after case from all these different states. They rejected the case from Texas suing Pennsylvania, and I understand the constitutional grounds of why they rejected it. Everybody understands that. Okay? But there were other cases where people in Pennsylvania were challenging what was going on in Pennsylvania. Those people had standing. And then Supreme Court was basically like, well, you know, we let the states handle their elections the way they want. We're not going to really get involved in them. But there is an outline how they're supposed to be run. But the Supreme Court, what they didn't want to do is they're like, we don't get involved in politics. And what they did us all a disservice, because John Roberts could have very easily, he could have taken all these things in, and he could have been like, okay, give me the fucking rumors from fucking goddamn Georgia. Give me the fucking rumors from Pennsylvania. Tell me about the fucking truck. Tell me about the ballots under the table. Tell me about the dude that supposedly brought stuff in from New York. Tell me about the machine in Wisconsin that supposedly had a 67% error rate in tabulating votes. Tell me about the data from whatever. And they could have literally sorted through this stuff fairly quickly. Even if they couldn't have solved it all, they could have been like, well, this looks fake. Ooh, this is not fake. There might be something here. Maybe it's not enough to rule on it. Maybe it's not standing, but the U.S. Supreme Court was in a position to help us figure out what the hell was going on for the benefit of everybody. It would have been okay if they didn't give it to Donald Trump. But they fucked up. And this is just another example. I think the John Roberts Supreme Court is going to go down as one of the weakest, worst Supreme Courts in this country's history since the Dred Scott decision. That guy is a tard. It's unreal how he lets this shit get out of control.
Well, it's very simple. He wanted to pass the buck. It's so simple. He wanted to pass the buck back to the states. Now, my question is, if any of the justices did want to hear it, couldn't it have been heard, or does Roberts have final say-so on what comes in and what doesn't?
I think it was believed that Alito wanted to hear one of the cases, but I think he was overruled because they have to decide. I believe this is where I don't know the answer, but I believe they have to get together and vote if they're going to hear a case.
All right, that I did not know. I knew there had to be some prerequisite to have something in front of them, and I didn't, and I don't know what it is.
The reason is, I think the reason why they have to kind of choose is it would not be hard to have. I mean, every case would end up before the Supreme Court because you'd find one justice that'd be like, yeah, we're going to bring that one up. And the other ones are like, dude, we addressed that in in Brown versus Board of Ed, or we addressed that in the McCain-Feingold thing. Or it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know the answer, but, watching the Roberts Court twist themselves into a pretzel over Obamacare, like literally Obamacare had major problems. And don't want to get into the weeds here because we want to talk about what's going on in Washington. But, Obamacare, uh, it was in the U.S. government, taxes have to originate in the House. There's an originalization concept because the House was supposed to be the chamber of the legislature that represents all of the people, and if all the people going to be paying the taxes, new taxes have to start there, and so bills have to start there. Well, when they were writing Obamacare, they apparently were writing it, and they were writing it in the in the Senate, and when they were writing the laws for how they were going to do things like, they were going to put a tax on medical devices to pay for stuff, things for like the doc fix and all these different things. Sometimes they justified doing it by writing stuff that said it wasn't a tax, and then they justified stuff by saying it was a tax. And what happened was this was obviously a fatal flaw in the entire law. Okay? But John Roberts, he literally was writing a majority opinion. It was a 5-4, and basically they were going to strike down Obamacare. And he decided at the last minute he felt like he didn't want the Supreme Court to be overly politicized. And he decided if the American people want Obamacare, they're going to be voting for it and dealing with it with their congressmen. They're not going to blame it on us. If the American people want to get rid of Obamacare, they're going to be dealing with it, voting for their congressman. They're not going to blame it on us. So he literally switched sides to the 5-4 the other way, and they wrote an opinion basically allowing Obamacare to continue on like page, I can't remember the page numbers, like page 17, it's not a tax. Then on page 37 this is of their opinion, it's a tax. It's so nuts. This guy will do anything he can to avoid, looking like the bad guy. And what's happened here is he has put us in this position in this country. Politics. The Supreme Court is a political organization, not in the sense of it passes, policy. But it's a political organization because it is the highest court of the land, and there's no way to get around the political ramifications. It has to call balls and strikes. It could have very easily avoided this. And they went forward and they thought that they could just go ahead and whistle past the graveyard and let all this stuff go to, go to this dead end, and it wouldn't cause any problems. I mean, this is John Roberts' fault, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. The Supreme Court should have taken it and then ruled. One way or another, win or lose, I agree. They should have at least heard it.
Yeah. Well, they at least clarified. Like, is this real? Because you hear stuff all the time. This was the things under the table. That's why here's the thing. It's not just John Roberts. Okay. Like I'm loaded for bear on everybody. I can blame Trump. Trump is fucked up here, and he knows he fucked up. The Democrats have fucked up here, and everybody knows that too. Big media has fucked up here, and big tech has fucked up here. And I can go through the list of how we got here. And here's the thing with guys showing up at Congress with zip ties looking to, I don't know, like the Air Force guy was going to arrest people. I'm here to arrest you. Okay. I mean, okay. But, the left and big tech media is trying to tell us that the Republican Party is violent and the Republican Party is rife with conspiracy theories. And it's like, well, apparently we had violence at Congress, so that's true. And we are rife with conspiracy theories because I can't even tell you, the listener at home, who Buffalo Man is, what's going on with the felt tip pens, what's going on with these computers supposedly in Michigan, or in Wisconsin, what's going, it's crazy. But here's the problem. Like everybody's pretending like 2020 just dropped out of the sky. It's like, okay, the federal government lied about Fast and Furious forever. All right? They lied about it and they got caught. And it's like, yeah, you lied about it. It was a conspiracy theory until it wasn't. The federal government, they lied about, I'm not going to go back to 9/11, but the federal government, they 100%, what was the other one they lied, the big thing they lied about?
Which time?
Well, no, wait a minute. No, seriously, like Benghazi. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Why is Benghazi such a flashpoint? 13 hours. Because you got two groups of people. You got a bunch of people that watched 13 hours and read the book and know who Tonto and the rest of the dudes are. And you got other people that listen to Hillary Clinton testify before Congress, and it's their truth. But here's the problem. Okay. The weekend after Friday, I don't know, so Friday, I think Benghazi happened on a Friday. It was a September 11th, but whatever day it was. That weekend on the Sunday shows, like it had happened. Everyone didn't know how bad it was, but they knew it happened. It came. They tried to say the U.S. government tried to say it was because of some video, which is not true.
Right.
Okay. And then Hillary Clinton magically disappeared. Hillary Clinton wouldn't show up. She wouldn't do pressers. She wouldn't release statements. She was unavailable. And they trotted out. Susan Rice. Then the assistant, or was she UN? Was she ambassador to the UN at that point, or was she? I think she. And they tried. They basically said, Susan Rice, Dr. Rice, you're going to do the Sunday shows, and basically it was.
Oh, and she did. Everyone there was.
She did everyone there was. She hit them all because it was a big story right before an election too. Right before, like literally right before an election, and she told all this shit that supposedly didn't happen and all the reasons that weren't true for connected to Benghazi. And in her defense, they probably told her this because the word was she went out there and made an ass out of herself, and it wrecked her career. I mean, she was never able to become Secretary of State because she never would have been confirmed because of all the bullshit she peddled, because they lied to her, supposedly, when she was out talking to the Sunday shows. I mean, this happened. Like, well, this happened.
It just goes to show you, upper politics takes no prisoners.
Yeah. I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay. All we heard, 2016, remember when Donald Trump, like back in, back at the beginning of time when dinosaurs roamed the earth and, the world was a different place. And Donald Trump said, yeah, they tapped my wires. Remember that? It looks like they tapped my wire. He literally said they tapped my wires. And all you heard for a year was har, give me a break, conspiracy theory, shut up, Donald. And then it turns out, oh yeah, not only was it they tapped your wires, there's this crazy crossfire hurricane operation to try to take down Trump. It's like, wait a minute. Okay. And then here's another one. This is literally this past summer. This past summer, Joe Biden, everyone said in 2019, like Joe Biden can't get it. There's just no way. He's too old. But the reality is he's too vulnerable on China. Everyone knows he did deals with China. It's just no way. He's done. And in the summer of 2020, I remember watching the former, I think it was a national security advisor. He was testifying, or he released a statement. He was on somewhere. He released a public statement. And people were asking him about Hunter Biden and Burisma. And this stuff was leaking out. The former director of CIA or National Intelligence said, and I quote, "Oh, that Hunter Biden stuff is just a CIA counterintelligence operation. It's a misinformation campaign.
It's a smear campaign."
Yeah. Well, he said it's a intelligence op by the Russians to sow discord. It's not real.
Who was that? Brennan?
Brennan said it. It was I think it was Brent. Okay. It might know so I think it was Clapper. I think it was Clapper. It was Clapper who said it, and right. I'm pretty certain it was Clapper. And he literally said this summer. What do you know? 2 goddamn days after the election, everybody knows Hunter Biden has been, is being investigated for all this bullshit that's going on. And the thing is, they all knew it. They all knew it in Washington. They all knew it at Fox News. They all knew it at CBS. They all knew it at the New York Times. But it's and that's not a conspiracy. This is real. And so if you have lost your mind and you want to paint your face blue and red and put on a horned helmet and go run through the Capitol building, I can't be that surprised.
Well, there's I don't know where I can start with what's going on. Tomorrow, supposedly, Congress is supposed to meet back up. Now, here's 2 things that I've heard today. Congress is supposed to meet back up, and in the House, they have drafted over the weekend and want to present another article of impeachment against Trump with 10 days left. Okay? That's on one hand. Then the rumor flying around, and I do not know how this works, and I don't claim to know how it works. The other rumor flying around for Trump to counter it is he is going to declare the Insurrection Act, which means Congress can't meet to impeach him. So,
yeah,
I know that's what's out there. You've been out of the loop. I'm just telling you what's going on.
I'd have to look up. I'd have to get my USC book out, the United States Code. I don't know what chapter the Insurrection Act is in.
Either do I. I know nothing about it, but that's supposedly Trump's counter to where they can't meet.
See, okay, look, all right. A couple things here. All right. Congress, let's be real, okay? There's going to be enough in this podcast, I'm positive, but I'm going to keep it real, people. So if I say something you don't like, wait 2 minutes. I will say something that someone else isn't going to like that you're going to like. So stick with me.
We're equal opportunity pissing people offers.
Yeah. Why do you keep calling everybody fucker? Because it's gender neutral. That's why, fucker. So, okay. You know what? Here's what I'm going to call everybody fucker because it's gender neutral. Trump is a fucker. He is guilty. He absolutely did encourage these people and incite these people before Capitol Hill. Hold on. Hear me out, everybody. Hear me out. Congress is guilty because now, okay, which is super interesting. Okay, I'm not Jesus and I'm not perfect. Okay, I do not like the fact that people broke into Capitol Hill. A police officer has been killed. This Air Force vet woman has been killed. Like dudes like stealing, like, okay, you're there to, I'm here to save the republic, but some dude's carrying the speaker's podium out. It's like, really? Okay. I'm not down for any of that. But it's super interesting to me. And I watched this happen. Because you and I were texting. I can't remember if it was Josh Hawley. I can't remember who the member what congressman it was.
The one that objected?
No. This is before it went really bad. So, guys up there talking. There's another Republican sitting behind him. I think that Republican's going to run for office. I can't. It's escaping me the name.
Langford.
No. So it was one of the big ones, and they're talking, and you all of a sudden they're in the chamber, and you hear some ruckusing and all this, and all of a sudden an aide comes running up to this congressman. He's like, and the congressman's wearing a microphone because he's on the record, and they're recording him, and the House is recording him, and the stenographer, and it will be in the public record forever. So he's mic'd, and so the aide runs up to him, and so now he's close enough to the mic on the lapel or in front of the thing, and he goes, protesters are in the building. What? Yeah, we're stopping. There's protesters in the building. And this panic moment when they start going, the protesters are in the building. And then the aide goes, no. The protesters in the building. We're not stopping. It's not anything you said. Protesters are in the building. But they're panicked. Now, this is where I'm a fucker too. I am a fucker too, and you can whack me for this. When I saw that video for that moment, It's called. There's a concept. There's a word that exists in the German language, and there is not an equivalent word that exists in the English language, and it's called Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude.
Yeah,
Danny, you know that word? You've heard
Schadenfreude.
that? Yeah.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah. And what that is, that concept is, it's roughly translates into reveling, commiserating in the
The misery of others.
of others, reveling in the commiserating in the misery of others. And I, as an American citizen, and this is where I'm wrong too, because this was before it went really bad, I think, because it went bad, and it went bad. It made me unhappy. But I, as an American citizen, have been watching riots in all these cities. Okay, you have liberal leaders in these cities who, it's the summer of love, mostly peaceful, fiery but peaceful.
Let them speak.
I'm going back in time a little bit with the woman in Baltimore, Room to Destroy, but same thing. And like all this stuff. Okay, nobody, you're not going to bring in the feds, but then okay. We're all out here like going like, oh man, like there was stuff here that happened in Cincinnati. Stuff happens all these cities, and you have to wonder, is it going to be little or is it going to be, oh no, this could be the big one here. Because no one never knows where the big one's going to be until you're in the middle of the big one. No one thought that morning that people were going to break into Congress. Okay. But it was so interesting to me. We're all out here, our asses hanging out in the breeze for fucking 9 months. And there's all this bullshit going on in all these cities. Now suddenly Congress is upset with riots and violence. Again, I am not happy with people invading Congress. But don't think that I'm going to sit here and let you fuckers suddenly act all high and mighty when you didn't give two shits. And this is, hold on, I got it for everybody. Donald Trump and the Republicans have been using these lefty liberal riots as a way to scare voters into voting for him. The left has been using these crazy liberal riots as a way to inform and manipulate public opinion to try to get people to vote against Donald Trump. And the people that have lost are you and me. And this sucks. Do you know what? The listener at home, here's something. This is where the media doesn't report this in the U.S., but this is in all the intelligence circles. Do you know what Japan, Ukraine, Russia, China, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, their official analysis, like, not public, but like they're like, Vladimir, what is BLM? Vladimir, what is Antifa? Do you know what they actually think? This is what they believe. And I cannot disagree with them. You know what they believe it is, Danny?
I would say probably something that what they believe is probably something that it's self-induced by the government.
They believe that Antifa and BLM, which are communist Marxist organizations, are militias controlled by the Democratic Party for their political ends.
That doesn't surprise me.
But you know what? No one thinks about it like that, but I can't dispute it. Like, can I win that? Can I be, oh, come on, you're crazy. It's like, well, I mean, they're kind of using it.
You can't win because since the break-in of the Capitol, we'll call it the break-in or whatever you want to call it.
Capitol Hill. It's Capitol
right.
Congress. It's called Capitol Hill.
On Capitol
It's
Hill.
literally a hill.
I have gotten into very heated arguments with 3 very good friends of mine, albeit they're liberals, but they will not admit on their deathbed that a rioter is a rioter is a rioter. Their rioting is okay. The rioting that happened on Capitol Hill is not okay. You hit the nail right on the head. So I basically told them, so only geographic rioting is acceptable. And they hung up.
Or
they
rioting and a certain narrative. Well, a couple points. Okay, it's super interesting. Super interesting. Okay, and and this is an example. What's happening right now? Look, this is bad. It'll be fine, everybody. It'll be fine. There's multiple battles going on here. Donald Trump is battling for his legacy. The Republicans, the establishment Republicans see this as an opportunity to push Trump out of the party so they can reinsert control. So Trumpism doesn't take over the GOP. So there's that battle. The Democrats want to try to hurt Donald Trump's legacy. So a lot of their working class and middle class and lower middle class voters will rewrite history and basically pretend like they don't support Trump, or that they benefit from Trump, or that they like Trump, or all that was just a big mistake. But this is interesting. Okay, the Capitol building isn't the only building in Washington that was targeted by rioters and overrun.
No,
And
wasn't the DNC and the RNC both targeted?
well, there were bombs placed out front.
Okay.
But hold on, wait a minute. No. Do you remember the night that the rioters, the Democratic Party, and whoever these people were, they tried to create a Chaz Chop whatever zone on Lafayette Park right outside the White House.
Oh, by St. John's Church?
And it got out of control. And here's what happened. Like, they went after the White House. They tried to get in the White House. And the reason why they didn't get in the White House is because the White House has Donald Trump has a full-time protection that's real. But here was the thing: they almost overran the White House. They were so concerned. They evacuated Donald Trump to the PEOC, Presidential Emergency Operations Center. And supposedly the PEOC is under the East Wing, not the West Wing. And it's the bunker. But here's the thing. All you heard, Twitter and media and the left, was har, 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 little Donnie's hiding in his bunker. Har, har, har. Like, seriously, like the Secret Service, they were literally afraid. They almost lost the White House. Like, it would have had to been a big gun battle. It was bad. And so then these fuckers tried to burn down St. John's Church. And I think it's an Episcopalian church. It's literally, 18, 12, 19. It's almost 200 years old. I think it predates it was built maybe the early 1800s. Like, it is old. It has been there. Founding fathers went to this church. So, okay, now here's the thing. You listen to this at home. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. Let's just have a real conversation here. Look, Donald Trump fucked up, but we're going to have a conversation. I'm not justifying it. I just want to tell you how the media manipulates everybody. You may not recall St. John's Church really being set on fire. You may not recall the White House being attacked. You may not recall people laughing at Donald Trump as he's, quote, hiding in the bunker. But you absolutely will recall the next morning Donald Trump walking out of the White House. He walked across the street, went over to St. John's, and he held up a Bible, and all you heard for a week was they were all hooting and hollering about Donald Trump and something he was doing wrong and politicizing things.
His photo op.
It was his photo op. So here's the thing. The Republicans attack Capitol Hill. It's screaming about Trump. The communists attack the White House screaming about Trump. Are you noticing a pattern here? And you wonder why people who don't get a hearing before the Supreme Court, who get things that they post censored or get shadow banned or ratioed or all this other kind of stuff, why they start to go crazy.
Here's what I'm thinking, and I don't get the mindset of some of these political types whatsoever. They want to rush tomorrow and push a second impeachment against Donald Trump. I think, and you hit on this a little earlier, when the people stormed the Capitol building and they were ushering people out. I'll bet you the ego of those Congress people, feeling that they were always immune and safe in their little crystal palaces, were shattered. So now, when all these people wanting to rush to impeach him and everything, when they're removed from that crystal palace and their whatever they think their utopia is, and they're back in their districts, don't they think that they have to answer back to their constituents, and there's not going to be the same, let's call it, settings as there was on Capitol Hill?
It's already started. I mean, well, before the attack happened on Capitol Hill, Mitt Romney got run down pretty hard in an airport. Senator Graham has had some incidents where he's been run down, and you know how quickly the crowd turns. Because I remember when Senator Graham was walking out of the Capitol building one day, and there was somebody asked him something, and he said something, turned to the camera and fixed his tie and turned sideways and smiled, and everybody on the right made that a meme. And it was like, har, 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 we got you, own the libs. You know, Senator Graham is so great. Now, you know, they want to hang him in effigy. So
Right.
I want to make another point here, because I have not expended all my ammo. I'm not done telling everything that's wrong here.
Wait, you have more to vent?
I do. One thing, I have a policy, because I have, and you know this, because you've really gotten the brunt of it, I'd say the past few months.
It's daily.
It's I was trying to be generous, but I was The listener doesn't know this, but I was hammering Danny this morning because I was going to walk to a meeting, and I'm like, I was hammering the shit out of him because it's just like, because anyway, I have a policy, and my policy is I do not say things that I don't know to be true. I also do not say things. I really try that I would feel like, why did I say that 3 years later? And so let's go back to the violence. Okay. The Parlor, like, I guess, you know, Facebook and everybody's looking to shut down Donald Trump and all this. And, you know, everybody now Parlor's getting, you know, like whatever has happening to Parlor. I don't even understand how Parlor is. It looks like Twitter to me.
It is Amazon and
Amazon Web
Apple has stopped their app for sale.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. So, and the reason being they've done this is because of the violence. Okay, right? And you know that seems perfectly logical. I mean, I'm not going to take the other side of that, but the listener who has been with us for 2020 will remember to go back to go to our website, John1911.com, type in Twitter criminal enterprise in the search bar, and you will see a post by yours truly. And I had decided at that moment that I was going to stop using Twitter, and we were going to, as a company, we were leaving it behind. And my justification was Twitter is a criminal enterprise. And my documentation for it was I made a post on Twitter, and I said it then, and after what happened in Congress, I'm still okay with it. It was the following. I said, rioters should be arrested, violent looters should be shot. This is not a black-white issue. Twitter said that I had to take that down because reasons, and I would not. So I'm done with Twitter. This is the same Twitter at the exact same time that this is happening. I am wanting to defend these neighborhoods. I am wanting to defend these black communities, these communities of color, these minority communities, communities that need our help. I am wanting to defend them from having their businesses and their lives destroyed, attacked and killed and murdered by outsiders in most cases. And Twitter is telling me that I can't even take a position to defend those neighborhoods at the same time that there are people on Twitter at that moment, they were coordinating their riots. Hey, go over 2 blocks. Senator so-and-so is leaving. Go get him. Hey, go over here and do that. And it's like now suddenly they're all like, man, violence is bad. It's like, you know, because you use violence. It's like, really? I mean, I'll tell you what, pot kettle black Twitter. I'm telling you, pot kettle black Twitter, I guarantee you I will stack. I don't even know what the fuck goes on Parlor, but I will guarantee you I can stack anything up on Parlor and I will raise you what's on your goddamn website because you have hundreds of millions of more people and there's hundreds of millions of more assholes. And most of it isn't about Donald Trump or Mike Pence or the Capitol building. Half of it's about, diddling little kids and dope and all kinds of bullshit. I mean, it's
Yep.
like, give me a break. I mean, give me a fucking break, these people.
Well, and alluding back to my point, be it Twitter, be it whoever, be it arguing as I did with the liberals this weekend, two sides, double standards for everything with these mainstream media slash I can't websites anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's
Well,
crazy.
it's the duality of the reality here because I had a conversation with a guy, liberal, black guy, and we're friends, but he's very liberal. He doesn't. He's a useful idiot liberal. I don't mean he doesn't listen to this podcast, so I'm not trying to. He believes in what he says, but he doesn't really understand how he gets to where he gets. It's more emotional and it's more situational, which is fine. We all start somewhere. And we were having these conversations about the election. And and here's the thing: before the election, he had the horse face about Donald Trump, like, oh man, Donald Trump's going to win the election and whatever. And he was sick, and he was tired, and he was afraid, and he was exhausted, and he loved Barack Obama. And the thing is, and I remember when Trump won, and I listened to it the whole time, and he was like, God, he's going to win re-election. Like he was just whatever. Well, when he started to realize that Donald Trump, when Donald Trump lost, he he feels better. But it's like I made a point to him. I said, understand something. Whoever is the president doesn't really affect you or me in our daily lives, and I am bullish on America. I am bullish on the country because we make up the country, not some dude in the White House, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So now because your guy won and my guy lost, I'm supposed to be depressed, and I'm not depressed. I can see some positive things in Joe Biden. I can find positive things in anybody. Hey, no offense, but Hitler did love his dog. I mean, give me a break. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm saying, but but my point is we were talking about the election, and I mentioned the Supreme Court about hearing, these stories, and I said, people need to hear this or people need to hear that. Like, is this true? Is this a rumor? What is this? Is this just bullshit off the internet? And he's like, well, the courts have done all that. They've heard all that. And it's like, no, they haven't. They've just rejected it. They just basically, it's all no, they haven't heard any evidence. There's been no trial. There's been no discovery. This isn't, no, actually, no. But see, he's just here, oh, so-and-so lost in court. So, 60 some cases Trump has lost. They've won one. He's like, well, he thinks that means there's been a trial. In his reality, it's like, no, there's been no trial. And then the other one was, I told him, I said, well, look, understand something. I said, at this point, Donald Trump's not going to be in the White House, barring some great unforeseen circumstances. Again, this was before Congress thing. This was before, I don't even remember. This was probably before the certification by the Electoral College. I said, Donald Trump's not going to be in the White House. I mean, chances are. I'm not counting on it, and I'm telling you, it's going to make you happy. Donald Trump's not going to be in the White House. January 20th, he's not going to be president. January 21st. But I said, listen, understand something. This isn't a football game. This isn't a hockey season. Okay, politics is forever, and it's not like, well, okay, whoever got to the championship game gets the ring or the cup, and then the new season starts and everybody starts from zero. I said, you have to understand, if somebody stole the election, if there was massive fraud on the scale that everybody's claiming that there is with the computers and the trucks and the fake things and whatever, I said it may take 3 years. but they'll figure it out. If somebody stole this election, they're going to figure it out. And if that's true, there's going to be big trouble. And what was very telling was his response. He got real nervous. He got real nervous because in his heart of hearts, he thinks maybe, like we all have questions. I don't know. I have no evidence. Nobody's really giving me any evidence of anything. I hear all this shit. But just like the pen thing, I've heard, look, if you're at home and you're screaming and you're like this and this and this and this and this and this, I'm with you, dude. I've heard it all. Sidney Powell, for example. Let's talk about Sidney Powell. Remember Sidney Powell? Yeah, I remember. She got you really riled up, Danny. Remember the Kraken? I'm going to release the Kraken. Yeah, and it was like, oh, man, because, generally speaking, people, unless you're a psychopath, you don't get up there and start popping off at the mouth and saying shit that you can't back up. It's like, oh, man, she's got something. But here's what happened. Sidney Powell made all of these allegations about these computers from help me out here.
Dominion.
Dominion, yeah.
Good thing you have me.
Yeah, I mean, like talk about a painfully unfortunate name right now. I'm just saying Dominion of all names, holy shit. But seriously, like really, you could have just been like, we're the Alpha B Smith Corporation. It's like whatever. So Dominion.
I have my points.
Yeah, and so she's making all these points, and she's even puts it in the lawsuit. She files papers in Georgia. Making these allegations. And it was a few weeks later, she withdrew the Dominion computer allegations out of that lawsuit. She retracted the Dominion computer thing. And it was like, well, that's interesting. So is this true? Is Sidney Powell, does she ever have evidence? Or, and I'm going back to my conversation about conspiracy theories and driving people crazy. Okay, Sidney Powell. Mike Flynn was about to go to jail. Okay, he didn't really do anything wrong. He was about to go to jail, and they did the government did all kinds of crazy stuff with Mike Flynn. And she came in last minute. She became his lawyer. She fought back the government, fought back the intelligence community, and basically made them prove their case as opposed to pleading all this stuff out. And she uncovered all kinds of crazy shenanigans that people should go to jail for, but don't. Hey, hashtag, conspiracy theory. And I can't help but wonder if Sidney Powell spent the last year and a half basically uncovering, crazy town things that the government would do to Mike Flynn. I don't think it'd be a big leap mentally for her just to assume there's going to be crazy town shit with the Dominion computers. Maybe she wanted it to be there because she's like, it has to be because it's everything I've done for the last year and a half has had these crazy bullshit things in it. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with her.
Well, I know she was countersued by Dominion for something like
what, 1.5 billion?
Yeah, something.
I heard it was $1 billion.
Yeah, so it's something insane.
Well, they sued her for defamation,
correct.
Hey, look, hey, everybody, I'm hammering Donald Trump, and I'm hammering Antifa and the commies.
Well,
okay? The truth is, if there is not a case here that Dominion actually has problems with their computers, that's enough to affect the outcome of election. Sidney Powell's in trouble. They have a case against her.
Well, okay.
How is their case any different than Parlor? And people, all of a sudden, all these outside forces that you can't control have decided you're the worst thing in the world, and we're going to put you out of business. Dude, if you, until you have evidence, if you are pissed off about Parlor, what if Dominion doesn't do all this shit?
And they're guilty of charge. I get it. I do get it. But before I go any further, we're talking about Sidney Powell, where her co-counsel Rudy Giuliani. Now the left is wanting him tried for treason and to be disbarred.
Well, yeah, they're just looking. They're trying. Okay, and this is where they're screwing up again. like the cycle is starting all over because they're going to go and they're going to pretend that all this stuff that drove people crazy didn't happen. Okay? And then they're going to go around and they're going to take their pound of flesh from people who they feel are responsible for, rightly or wrongly, some of it true, some of it not, for exposing and dealing in the crazy. And then eventually they're going to start hurting people that absolutely are innocent. And it's going to start the victim crazy cycle again. The Democrats are so overplaying their hand. Now, look, and here's a conversation I had with somebody, and it was shocking to them. They're conservative, and I said, "There's only one person right now that can save us from this, and history has given that person a chance." And you know who the person is?
Joe Biden.
Exactly. Because here's what could happen: Joe Biden could come. He could come into the White House, and you know what? They're going to get all the people that tore up the Capitol building, murdered a cop, drove all those people crazy. They're going to get them, whether you thought you were right and if you were wrong, you're going to go to jail. But then don't tell me he can't turn around and start arresting all these Antifa people, because this is where the cycle is going to start again. Okay. All of a sudden, the Capitol building gets attacked, and within a day or two, they're arresting people. These people have masks on. Okay. All of a sudden, in 2 days, the government has said this. The media has reported, and the government has said it. FBI is involved. They said the NSA is involved. They're going through the cell phone system. They're tracking people's movements. They're getting warrants to go into their data. They're going into their their social media. They're looking in emails. They're doing this legitimately. They're literally standing at Reagan National, not that far from here, and they have a list of naughty people. And as they come through the airport, they're grabbing them because most of these people are going to fly out. Okay, they did this. This has been a week. Oh, that's funny. So you telling me all those videos in this country that we have seen of people, box cars or panel trucks showing up at these riots with weapons, or people delivering pallets of bricks like the day that there's going to be a rally riot in some city, and you can't figure out the VIN numbers, the plate numbers, the credit card numbers, the cell phone numbers. These people are, obviously it's organized and it's across state lines, but you don't do shit about it. So you know what? You do what you have to do for the people in Capitol Hill, but suck my dick, because you're not doing it for all these fucking riots that's been happening all across this country. And if Joe Biden would get off his ass and do his fucking job like Donald Trump has not done this past year with these fucking riots, we wouldn't be in this fucking mess. Donald Trump, I was pissed off. And remember, we had this big text thing, and I was screaming fucking mad. Donald Trump, that goddamn church, that goddamn church was on fire. Okay, and Donald Trump, he wants to come out there and hold up the Bible press release, the presser, and it's like, that's great. The media was mad at it because Donald Trump, this is all Donald Trump's fault. I'm mad at Donald Trump because if I was president of the United States, I would have looked at my Secret Service and I would have been like, go fucking take the goddamn church back. And they're like, we can't do it, Mr. President. We're here to protect you. That's not our job. Well, I got bad news for you, motherfuckers. I'm going to the fucking church, and you got to follow me. So bring all the guns. So don't tell me that this is all Donald Trump's fault, and don't tell me this is all Antifa's fault. It's both of them's fucking fault. And this is bullshit all around because people are not doing their goddamn jobs.
Number one, I'm glad to see that I'm still the whipping post, because I thought maybe you had lamented a little bit from this morning. So I'm happy with that. But seriously, Biden will not do it either, because a lot of that is his voting base.
Well, you know what? We've had
think about that.
I have some positive things to say about Joe Biden, and then we're going to go to the thing you want to talk about because it's important, because it's coming fast. We've already been going for almost an hour.
All right.
Joe Biden has shown me that he is willing to choose some people from the middle of the road. He's nominated Merrick Garland to be his attorney general. And it's like that's a good choice. I mean, look, I'm not saying Merrick Garland. If for those who don't know, Merrick Garland was the guy who Barack Obama had chosen to take the Supreme Court seat, but the Republicans in the House or in the Senate, basically said we're not going to do this because there's an election coming,
They
and
stonewalled it.
yeah, they stonewalled it, and it's their prerogative. It's called politics. And the reason Barack Obama chose Merrick Garland, let me refresh history to the Republicans. Merrick Garland is not a communist. I'm not saying he doesn't have a socialist bone in his body, but he's not Eric Holder. Okay, he is somebody theoretically that if they had to take him, the Republicans could be like, all right, you know what, you are fucking qualified, fucking just do it. He's not fucking crazy. And the fact that Joe Biden chose him to be his attorney general, I think that's a good sign. However, the media for you guys at home is not doing you any favors, because the leftist media, what they want to do is they're basically like, ha ha ha, Merrick Garland is now the attorney general. This is payback. And it's like, no, it's not payback. The Republicans, they run with his goddamn, oh my God, Merrick Garland, they're shoving Merrick Garland down our throats. We stopped him once and now he's back. It's like, no, it's like neither of these two things are true. And they keep Fox and goddamn CNN keep doing this stuff. And that's why you have horned people on Capitol Hill.
Yeah. So someday there might be horned people in some of these news sites. You never know.
Can I tell you some inside baseball company business that I'm excited about that I don't normally say publicly because people would hold it against me? Can we just talk privately for a minute?
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
You know how they've shut down Parlor and they're kicking everybody off Facebook and Twitter and like the great censorship is coming. Like you've been right. I'm excited about it. So don't tell anybody.
You're excited about losing some form of freedom of speech?
No, I'm not excited about losing some form of freedom of speech. I'm excited because for 5 years, I have been putting all of my energy into building a website, John1911.com.
Because you called this day would be coming.
Because I do not believe in building houses on rented land. And it's like,
Okay, so wait a minute. So your words are coming to fruition, which they are, and let them stop YouTube, let them stop all these other social media sites because we're still good.
I have my own private website.
Yeah, you beat them. You beat them to the punch.
Well, here's the thing. So somebody could be like, all right, Mr. Smarty Pants Marky, what happens when they decide that I'm as bad as who's the crazy guy talking about the lizard people in Texas? What's his name? Infowars guy. What's his name?
I can't think. I know.
Anyway, Infowars, and it's like what if
Alex
Amazon,
Jones?
Alex Jones? What if they decide like I'm like for some reason guns, because we're not that way, we're just guns and we're Americans, and they decide like Amazon Web Services and all this, and they decide that our website has to come down. They're like, well, we can't, let's say the back end servers that run our website, let's say they have to come down. It's like, well, okay, I have two choices. I can set up my own servers, which I can either sub farm it out, I could physically rack them, or I just set them up outside the country. It's like, okay, fine. I'll just put servers in Russia. I'll put them in China. Do I want my servers in Russia or China? No. But the reality is there's nothing on my website that is like, affecting national security. I mean, you know what? I'd probably put them in Thailand because I'm sure they're cheaper in Thailand and, me love you long time. Like whatever.
Well, that's a very interesting point because on these social media sites, how long before it transcends into websites also and servers? That's a good point. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of is, but like, okay, like in this community, like we've got like, in the farms community, most of the people that that you like, people that, that listen to this podcast would know some of these people, like Ian McCollum from Forgotten Weapons, okay? Or Mac from Military Arms Channel. Okay. If you look at their business, their YouTube channels. Now, Ian does have a website. Ian realizes that he's got to diversify. He has his own website. And he's doing stuff. And Mac tried to start his own TV thing. But see, the problem is how come Parlor all of a sudden got real popular? Because they started banning people from Twitter. And then I guess now Gab is getting popular. It's because why do I keep uploading content? Like this podcast will be on YouTube. Why do I keep uploading content on YouTube? Because that's where everybody is. It's like if they ban everybody off of YouTube, then I'll go where everybody is. But right now everybody's on YouTube. And the more limitations they put on, these social media sites on rented ground, better off I am. All my work is paying off. It's like, here's the thing. Okay, like just for example, let's say I think like Ian McCollum has from Forgotten Weapons. Let's say he's got almost 2 million followers and subscribers. And it's incredible. Like we're not comparable to him in any way, but most people know who he is. Well, or Hickok 45. Here's another. Hickok, I don't know, has like 8 million people. I don't know many people he has subscribers. It's on YouTube. If you wipe out Hickok's page or Ian's channel on YouTube, how many of them end up will go to his website? It'll be a smaller percentage. And it may be astronomically small. Let's say Ian's got 2 million people on YouTube. They wipe out his page because guns, and he discovers that only about 100,000 of those people go to his website every couple days. Well, the truth is, that's who your real customer base is. Those are your true fans. Like if you go to the website, if you think enough to go to a website, like, oh man, what happened to the Ian McCollum guy? It's like, I better go to his website because I don't see him on this YouTube thing anymore. And because that was someone who really cared about what you were doing. Was it John1911 people? They've got more stuff over at their web. I'm gonna go over there. People that show up on our website, I love you guys. I love you, man. Like seriously, like all you guys, like comments, anything. Like and Freeze knows this. People interface on our website. You are priority number one. You leave a comment like, "Hey, what's 2 + 2?" I will jump out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and go 4.
Well, Freeze isn't here, so I'll call you Snarky Marky sometimes on those comments.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like, you have to, you have to realize here, a lot of people, they're all upset. We've had this conversation, you and me, with the media. It's like, can you believe the media? Like, can you believe CNN said this? It's like, I don't care. Like, I don't, it's like it's just a way to get a rise out of people. It's like, stop playing the game, like, okay, like I'm going to, this is me criticizing every Republican and conservative and myself included. Okay. Danny, you will be the stand-in for the average Republican voter who voted for Trump in 2020. Okay. So what, 75 million. 79 million people. Okay, so the freshman class from 2018's freshman class in the House of Representatives. Okay. Name for me 2 freshman Democratic congressmen from the 2018 class.
AOC and Tlaib.
No, Tlaib was already there, I think.
Sure?
But you know what? Tlaib is the point. But here's my point. That's a good one, actually. You may have won that. I should have made it more. But here's my point. The only reason anybody I should have made it more.
You always have to win, no matter what.
Of course, I always have to win. The only reason anybody knows AOC's name is because Fox News won't stop talking about her.
True.
She's not important. She's not important. She's a freshman, which she's not now. She's got reelected once, but she is a freshman congresswoman from a deeply, Democratic area, and she doesn't seem like she has any real, like area of expertise, like, oh, I'm here because, I know a lot about finance, or I should be on the
She
finance. She's supposed
she
to have a
could
degree in
mix a hell
finance.
of a martini, maybe.
Yeah, she's supposed to have a degree in finance, but like, she's not an issue person. She's not a subject matter expert. She's not even really passionate about like even things she may care about. She literally, all she does is she runs around wherever the spotlight is and puts herself into it. Like the Green New Deal, or like impeaching Trump, or she's a freshman senator or congresswoman, from New York, and she should be on some committee. And if somebody were to come to her and be like, "Do you think they're going to impeach Donald Trump?" Be like, "Well, I'm going to talk to my caucus members and the House, whatever oversight committee." Because there's more senior people, and they're going to, obviously, if there's going to be an actual impeachment, they're going to run it. So freshman nobody doesn't even know where the bathrooms are. Like one of these women, suppose like, we're drawing up articles of impeachment for Donald Trump like the next day. It's like, no offense, lady, but who the fuck are you? Have you talked to
But
Nancy Pelosi? Because last I checked, Nancy Pelosi's the one that's going to really run that. And by the way, she's going to appoint the managers for that. Who are you? This is just a chance for you to get in my news feed because you're a troll, but you happen to be in Congress. And that's why
well,
it drives people crazy.
even if the Democrat House does present articles of impeachment tomorrow, there's no way in life McConnell will call the Senate in session until the 19th, which means you can't even start the trial because Trump's gone the 20th.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, the truth is, I'm not.
Well,
This
the
is a.
real the real thing, I was watching the newsy shows this morning, is they want to get the second set of articles of impeachment against Trump so he could never hold public office again. They
There's
actually
precedent
said
for
that.
that. There's absolutely precedent for that.
You know,
And you know what? Here's the thing. Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm glad I did not know that, but let's bring that up because that's a real good point. I think
that's what
you could make an art. That's called legislating right there, baby. Because there's many Republicans who are tired of Trump as Democrats, and so what they're like. Wait a minute, you're telling me that these people came here and trashed our building, made us look bad, killed a cop, and you'll draw up the papers. You'll be the impetus for it. All we have to do is either not fight it or just tacitly go along with it because he's obviously guilty. And I don't ever have to deal with him in 2024 ever again. Seriously? How many Republicans privately would be like, yeah, dude, sign me up? They'd be fist bumping AOC and Nancy Pelosi. Hook me up
my
with that. Hook me up with some of that.
well, there's that one from Illinois. My recollection is only one Republican so far, that Adam Kinzinger from Illinois. He signed on to jump in with the Democrats for the impeachment. And supposedly, he's not very well liked in his district. So if Republicans do decide to sign on, either privately or publicly, I think the wrath of God will be against them for the reelection. I really do.
Yeah.
That's why I feel a lot of Republicans won't say boo.
Well, look, the thing is, and we all know this. I mean, 2024 is an eternity. A year in politics is. I mean, a year ago, everybody's like, Donald Trump's got this in the bag, and he's not going to be president. Um, you know, we don't know if Donald Trump's ever going to be president again. Like, we cannot, and you can sit here on your ass and be like, he's done. This is over. It's over. But the reality is, you know what? Donald Trump's not going away. He'll pop up in somewhere, and what'll happen is more evidence comes out. They'll start to identify people that were in the Congress in Congress on Capitol Hill that day that were members of Antifa, and be like, "See, I told you. See, I told you." And he's not going to be wrong. He will find some. You know what?
Well,
The listener
go
at
ahead.
home, I got this great game, and I played this game, and I don't know if I sent this to you, Danny. Have I sent you the MAGA versus Antifa game? There's a link on TMZ, and they've got a list. I think of
Yes, you did send that to me.
yeah,
Yes, you did.
they've got the 100 mugshots or something of people or
Yes.
photographs of people from that event, and literally it's super interesting because you look at him and you go, yeah, you know what, that dude's MAGA. And you look at, I swear, some of them you're like, dude, there ain't no way that guy's a communist. Like, it's an interesting game, and it'll be super interesting to play that game. And then as this works itself out, if there are trials and there is evidence, that it's like, well, you know what, um, you know, yeah, it turns out that guy was Antifa.
Well, speaking of about Trump, we should get on him because he's only got 10 days left. Do you think, or do you feel, Trump will do anything off the wall within the next 10 days?
I know. Okay, Danny, you are truly getting really good at this.
What? Getting under your skin?
No, 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 no. So Danny and I have been having this. We've had the debate somewhat publicly. We're going to kind of get off Trump. We're going to talk about something else that's very Trump related.
Go ahead.
And it's been, well, maybe you should tell them. I mean, I've been talking to everybody's
Well,
freaking ear off.
okay,
And
lead
cursing
in. What do you
like
want me to
sailor.
talk about? I have a whole list here.
Give me, okay, what's the number one thing you and I have been discussing the past 72 hours? Will he or won't he do? And that's the number one thing we talked about. Hint, micro. There's the word micro.
Oh, Iran?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay. With all the Iranian threats against Trump, also the threats that he's going to be dead at the hands of Iran the first day he's out of office, this or that, and Iran's nuclear program starting to gain steam, or whatever you want to call it, will Trump say, fuck you? You never hear me talk like that, but will he say, fuck you? Well, have you ever heard me say that?
dude, you are a former politician and you drove truck on the road. Give me a break, Mr.
Crooked resident. Will you please give me my proper name?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, will Trump say, fuck you, you're threatening me? Here's Adam.
So, well, so the question is, is Donald Trump going to bomb Iran's nuclear production facilities? And you and I had this conversation because there's a couple things that could go wrong. You have to weigh everything if you're the commander in chief. The first thing is, you could lose some people. Like what if a B-2 bomber goes down in Iran and China, and a week later it's in China? Or, so the other thing is, everyone, look, what I'm about to tell the listener, I don't know if this is true. This is my theory. I've not proven it to be true. I can tell you where I'm getting my sources, and I'm kind of vectoring into this, but I am not, and there's no proof of this, but I am not convinced that that all of the Air Force's, quote, bunker buster bombs are conventional. The Air Force, the bunkers are getting deeper and deeper. And I know the Israelis were really pushing the idea of micro nukes, very small nuclear devices to use to penetrate bunkers. And the U.S. government, we have it started under Obama. I think it was theorized under Bush, but it started under Obama. The U.S. We have a nuclear weapon called the B-61. It's a gravity bomb. It's literally a bomb. You hang it under a pylon, and you can drop it off an airplane. And there's the B-61. Is it Mod 12 or Mark 12? But it's it's 1961. This thing. I mean, it's old, but they keep rebuilding them and whatever because it's a mature design. But the latest versions we have dial-a-yield capabilities. And one of my theories is that some of these bunker busters may technically contain small nuclear devices just to get deeper into the ground. So technically, would a sitting president, if this is to be effective, be forced to use this hypothetical bomb that I'm inventing? Because it's not, no one knows if it's real. I literally have invented it in my head. I'm not hearing it from anybody, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, dude, they got to have this because they're getting too deep. And it's like, would Obama or Bush, or definitely Obama or Trump or maybe Biden, be the first president since Harry Truman to use nuclear weapons? Technically it would be a small nuclear weapon, and technically, hopefully, it would be underground. And it's not going to have this giant mushroom cloud. It would be more like an underground nuclear test. There would be some expulsion of radiation and probably some radioactive debris, which would carry through the atmosphere, and everybody would hoot and holler about it. Wouldn't be like a full blown thing, but it's like I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Well, that or it might just use. I'm thinking. I actually, after you chastised me this morning, I was doing some. For like you were on a roll this morning. You were listen. You were on a roll, and I just throw a couple little snippets or innuendo. Freeze taught me this just to keep you rolling, so I did it.
Y'all kiss my ass.
So okay. Well, anyway, they could use the conventional bunker busters maybe to get at the heavy water facilities or something to slow it down. Might not outright stop it, but maybe just to send a message. I don't know.
Look, I'm not an expert on nuclear weapons. I'm more learned than the average guy. I would think the heavy water is not really the heaviest lift for Iran.
But they have to have it.
Centrifuge technology and material, and then there is a big difference between having the material to make a device and the engineering to make one that actually works well. The engineering is pretty complicated because stuff's got to happen. It's so precise and so controlled to control these reactions to get them to work the way you want. Or because if it doesn't happen instantaneously, evenly in a certain way, it doesn't explode as large. It just turns into a giant mess, and so it turns into a low yield. And the North Koreans had problems with this. But the North Koreans apparently, did the North Koreans pop the hydrogen bomb? I think they might have. Excuse me.
Right.
I think they might have.
Well, supposedly the fusion of everything coming together is where the technology isn't there yet. But that's one thing.
North Korea and Iran work hand in hand.
Yes, they do. Except though DPRK has deeper tunnels.
They do have deeper tunnels.
Okay. Now, well, that's one thing. If he bombs or if he doesn't. Here's another thing. Will Trump pardon himself?
That's one of those law school hypotheticals that people can have, but I don't.
Well, I'll tell you why. I think he will. And I think this is where ACB, Amy Coney Barrett, I was going to say this during the Supreme Court portion of our podcast, but I think this is where Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and others will come into play. I think Trump will pardon himself, and of course they'll rush it to the Supreme Court to deem it illegal, but I think they will rule in Trump's favor.
Well, they probably would, and here's why, and not for the reason you think, though. And again, I'm playing constitutional scholar. There is a long-standing precedent and understanding because it makes things work in government, and the idea being you can't sue the executive because if you could sue the executive, it paralyzed government. And so then the reality is you can't sue the executive for anything he did while he was executive. So, if he pardons himself, he's probably immune unless, he did something that was so,
Well,
I don't know, enriched himself or something.
right. Here's another thing. If he pardons himself, that'll send the liberals off the deep end.
It will. And the thing is, like, would a normal person do that? Because they're not going to do it because of all the just shitstorm with Donald Trump.
But we're talking about Trump.
And Trump, dude, Trump will literally do anything.
That's why I think the two scenarios, either ordering a bombing or pardoning of himself, not to mention God knows who else he's going to pardon within the next days. He probably needs Evelyn Wood to write all the stuff that he's been writing. Read all the stuff he's been writing. I meant so.
No, Donald Trump, if he's smart, hasn't written anything down.
Yeah, good point.
No, because you don't. Because then it becomes a document that you may not be able to control. Hillary Clinton was famous for that. She didn't write anything down either.
Yeah, she was. Okay, so the point is, Trump has eaten shit from these people for 4 straight years. And now they're talking about a second impeachment. They're doing this, they're doing that, whatever. I say within the last 10 days, he's going to do some paybacks. I really feel that.
Well, what happens if he pardons himself? Then Congress, they're like, well, that doesn't count because our impeachment is coming after the pardon, so that isn't covered because this is a new charge. And then what if Biden comes in and goes, you know what, pardon Trump, let's all move on?
Yeah, something's going to happen. I guess the bottom line here is, in 10 days, Trump will not go quietly. He's going to do something.
I don't know. I mean, he might not. He might bomb Iran. He might bomb Iran. He might not. He might, like we were talking. You were talking. We had a big conversation earlier about Edward Snowden and
oh, that's right. Forgot about it. And WikiLeaks.
Julian Assange. And it's just
like
whatever. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't really have an opinion. I think what Snowden did was illegal and criminal, and he's a traitor.
Oh, yeah, it was treasonous.
Yeah,
but he might have. Snowden also might have worn out his welcome in Russia too. Who knows what's going on in that?
We talked about this. We don't know what kind of deal that Snowden has in Russia. If he has to give them stuff to basically eat, or if they're leaving him alone. And then the thing is, if we issue a pardon and we're like, come home and we'll give you a pardon, it's signed, come home, you're free to come home. And then just as he's getting ready to hop on the airplane in Moscow, the Russians decide, wait a minute, that means you really are some kind of spy, and we're gonna arrest you for espionage in our country. They find a reason, and then they start you know what I mean? Like, Snowden may never get out of Russia. Snowden running into Russia was literally jumping out of the frying pan into the fire, because he went to Hong Kong, and then was it the CIA or the FBI? He figured out they were going to get him in Hong Kong, and he went straight to Russia.
Yeah,
and they can't get him there, and it's like, it is. I mean, that guy. I don't envy that guy, because his life. I mean, I just can't imagine what his life's going to be. He may have a great life in Russia, but I mean.
No, that 3x3 cell in a Siberian gulag is probably his next address.
But I mean, like, do you think Snowden's really free to travel around Russia? Like, here's the thing. Do you think Snowden could be like, hey, I'm going on a holiday in St. Petersburg, which is right near all those Nordic states? Like, he could literally run across the border. It's like, no way. I mean, no way.
That's one thing, the geographical part of it. But another thing is, he can't go anywhere, because if he left the United States with all kinds of information, what's to say he's not gathering it there and going to bring it back to the United States?
He doesn't have access. He's not an employee of the intelligence apparatus of Russia. He was a contractor for the NSA, and he had got access to all these networks.
Yeah, but we.
He's a dude. He's a dude running around Russia, fucking chicks and eating sushi. I mean, he. I mean, he's. I mean, seriously, he's. He's got nothing.
Yeah,
Like
probably not.
I wouldn't let. If I was Vladimir Putin, I wouldn't let. I bet you he has a permanent tail on him. I would not let Snowden anywhere. I would watch his ass like a hawk if he got near an embassy in Moscow. Well, because he still would have to get out, and they couldn't get him out. He'd have to fly out commercial. I wouldn't let him within 100 miles of an international border. I mean, just no way. Just no way. Like, would I let Snowden visit? Hey, I'm gonna go to a beach house in Crimea. He'd be like, no, Russia, Moscow, fine. It's like, no.
But
Yeah.
but if he has outlived his usefulness to the Russian government, why is he still breathing?
His usefulness is because it's a thorn in our side. And when he flew into Russia, basically the intelligence community in the United States had a complete fucking meltdown. Like, it was basically the you can talk about the Walker spy ring. That was pretty big. And then, it looks like some of these hacks are pretty big. But as far as intelligence, you've got the Walker spy ring, you got Hansen at the FBI, and probably the P3 that landed in China, and Snowden. Like, it's a big one. And the thing is, with Snowden, like, look, dude, if you and I worked at the CIA, like, if you and I worked at the NSA or the CIA, like, let's say we're tech guys at the NSA, okay, and Snowden worked in our department, you don't think that the entire organization is up our ass being like, show me everything he had access to, show me every record of where he went, show me every keystroke, show me I want it all. Because they are going to try to figure out everything he could possibly know and then try to get ahead of it if it ever were to get out. They're probably changing shit that never got out because they're afraid it could get out. It's a mess. It's a lot of work.
Oh, it's crazy. It's starting tomorrow and until the 20th. I think there's going to be a lot more going on, and the big rumor going around is a week from today, there's supposed to be a giant march, right-wing march in Washington. Did you hear that one?
No. Truth be told, though, the thing is, like, this thing that happened in the Capitol Hill, like, I was, oh, yeah, like, was it January 6th or whatever day it was, or 5th? It's like, oh, we're going to go to the thing. I didn't even know what that was. I kind of ignored it because if people that watch our videos, when I took the I voted sticker off my CCW gun is when I was like, yeah, it's over. And that basically was when the Electoral College met. And it's just like, these mobs and these marches. I mean, like, I'm going to circle back to this woman who was shot in the Capitol building. I mean,
they still haven't found the assailant.
Oh, no. That's not an assailant. No, they know who shot her and they put that person on administrative leave. Take it from me.
Oh, they do? I haven't heard that. Thank you for the update.
They know who shot her. They know who shot her, and that person has been put on administrative leave per standard procedure. It's not abnormal because the person
everybody gets death duty after a shooting. We know that.
Yeah, and that's No, they know. They knew within the media didn't know, and Facebook didn't know, and Twitter didn't know.
Yeah, but see, was it a random target? All those hundreds of people there, and she singled out. I don't get that.
Look at the video. There was a window. It was a closed glass wall with doors in it, and there was a window to the upper right that was probably 4 feet in the air, and it was smashed out, and she was climbing up through the window. They shot her as she was climbing through the window up over higher than the door, and then they shot her, and she fell back and hit the ground. She was, if you look, because I had to watch it over and over and over.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it. I didn't even know it existed
until it happened. But she was shot. She was shot crawling through a window, through a sealed area. I don't know what was on the other side of that door. maybe that's where the Ark of the Covenant was. They didn't want her to see it, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. Indiana Jones is back there with his pistol, but like, here's the thing, like with her, she seems like a nice person. I don't know. I mean, it's like, do I really know anything about her? I'd like to think she's a nice person. She's a 14-year Air Force vet, but you know what? These people broke into this building and she's up there with a mob of people. She doesn't really know who they are. They start pouring in through the doors. Maybe look, I could make an argument. A lefty argument would be she was pushed in by the mob. She couldn't escape. A righty argument or a libertarian argument would be, you know what? She hung out with the wrong people and this is what happened. These big giant, look, like the Proud Boys, okay? If you want to go down to the public square and get an axe handle and go down there and LARP against 20-year-old communists that want to LARP with you, we used to call that the meanest man contests, and I used to work those. And it's like, come on. That's not a protest. That's not a political event. That's just people going down there to beat the shit out of each other. And there's nothing wrong with that. No one likes a good beating more than I do. Like, I like that shit. I do.
Only at the back end of your pistol.
Yeah, but I mean, that was actually the top of my pistol. And,
I thought you were holding the barrel and beat him with a handle. My bad.
No, I had a loaded gun pointed at myself. I was holding, and I'm not doing that. I mean, if someone's going to accidentally get shot, it's going to be the bad guy, not fucking me. Screw you.
Oh, that's right. But, my bad.
But it's like, like I would hate to go to some like big thing with a bunch of people I don't know. I project on them all this stuff like, man, I'm sure they're just like me. And then I find out something like that 14-year-old vet, she wasn't shot climbing through a window. A bunch of dudes are raping her in the bushes. Does that make me a bad person? No. But you know what? I don't know if I want to be around any of that. If I am a pretty antisocial person in many ways because I deal with people a lot, and I do not want to be. That's not my scene, brother. I am not that guy. Right. When the balloon goes up and it's time to have, this is one of those things. It's like, I said this on pod before. It's like, it's time to rise up and do whatever. It's like, if you don't know when that time is, and you're looking for direction in life, I'm not saying I need to be the guy to tell you, but if I have to be the guy, when it's time, I will let you all know. And, just going up there and storming in the Capitol building, because, we're here to, like the Electoral College voted. Here's a perfect example. And this is reaching back in time a little bit. But it's true. But there's so many people on the right that don't know this. Let's talk about Barack Obama and his birth certificate. So let's say Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Like, it's not a debate. Let's just, for the sake of argument, like somebody comes up and they're like, this is the birth certificate. Here's the announcement. Everything you were told is wrong. And let's say it was Barack Obama was still president. And let's say we were able to prove, and it was real, and it's not even debatable. Everyone's like, oh my God, Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Okay. And he's been president for 2 years. Does he still get to be president?
I would say no, because you have to be a natural-born United States citizen to be president per the Constitution.
That answer is incorrect.
And why is that?
You are correct. You have to be a natural-born citizen per the Constitution, and those bars are hurdled at the Electoral College during the election process. If the election happens, the Electoral College meets, and the House and the Senate, they certify the election, it's over. Motherfucker could have been born on Mars. You don't get to say he's not president anymore. And the reality is there were people on the right that ran well-meaning conservative people around by the nose for years, not telling them, by the way, you realize if it turns out, I want to know if he was born in Kenya. I want to know if he's the Manchurian candidate. I want to know this. I do. But the reality is, if he had been born in Kenya and he had already been certified as president, it's over. He's president. Because you would have taken it to the Supreme Court and John Roberts would have said the same thing. John Roberts would have said, you should have figured this out at the Electoral College, dumbasses, because that's where you're supposed to do it. You can't graduate from college and then ungraduate.
Oh, speaking about certifying.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is an example. You used to hear these examples all the time of these athletes, like these basketball players. Like they would go to college and like they would be like at the Big Ten school and they would make the hoops and make the money and whatever. And they would graduate and they couldn't read.
With a degree in basket weaving.
They would have a degree in like whatever, but it turns out they couldn't read. Well, here's the thing. They have a degree. If they can't read and you have to pass a proficiency test, even if your school has a proficiency test and it's like you have to pass this basic math test, this basic English test, you have to do, I don't know, whatever, count your fingers and toes. If you get the paper and you graduated, congratulations, Mr. Illiterate basketball player. You have a college degree. You graduated. Even you can't read. You can't undo that. When Barack Obama, if he had been elected, but he had been born somewhere else and it was certified, congratulations, you still are you. You can't undo that. You disqualify them at the time that you are checking for the qualifications.
True. Good point.
That may not apply like in places where, like doctors and insurance and all that kind of stuff. But for these kinds of things, this is how this works. The bar is the bar. And if it's certified as like, well, you met the standard, click, you pass. It's a pass-fail test. You can't unpass it.
Did you happen to see where Democrat Party members in the Senate are saying how Hawley and Cruz should resign because they had the audacity to object to the Electoral College?
Sure, because it's the same thing as Donald Trump, because the old guard GOP, this is actually the same conversation we had an hour ago. It's just different people. It's a way to run. No one likes Ted Cruz in Washington for some reason. And Hawley's running for president. And there's a bunch of other people that want to run for president in 2024, including your favorite and mine, Nikki Haley. That's a joke.
Did you get that message I sent you today? How she's making herself relevant?
Yeah. We have this inside joke here at John1911, Danny and I, and it's like we feel that Nikki Haley probably hates Kristi Noem from South Dakota because Nikki Haley has been like the heir apparent to run in 2024 for 8 years. That was going to be her spot. And all of a sudden, Kristi Noem's coming out of the plains of South Dakota. And she's like, no, I'm the one. I'm going to be the first female president. I'm going to be the female Republican. It's like all of a sudden, Kristi Noem is showing up with her duck gun and her good looks and her
blonde hair.
And her Kristi Noem doesn't have blonde hair.
I thought she's got like blondish brown hair.
She's brunette. You know what? You have officially been suspended as the chief political correspondent for the next week. So
I know Haley's a brunette. I thought Noem had lighter hair.
No,
I really did.
Got black hair. So, well, you know what? Real quick, just so people know, we have a bunch of staff members over here that are going in for medical treatment soon because we're all getting old. So, Danny, you're going in for
hand surgery.
Hand surgery. Is that next week?
Wednesday.
And what did Freeze say he was going to have knee surgery?
He's waiting on the date to be issued by his doctor.
Okay, because I know he was telling me he was looking. Freeze is so bad right now he can hardly walk. And his goal was, when we were talking, he said he wanted to be able to go back to the range and shoot by the summer. So he's going to be fucked up. So
wow, you really got the sick and disabled crowd on you now, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe get us some of that Obamacare. Take care of all your asses.
That's what worries me. How much is my copay? Oh, which reminds me,
all the shekels, baby. Your copay will be all the shekels. Okay?
Yeah, that's it. I like Doc's grouping that That was a nice post. That was a very nice post.
Oh, Doc rebarreled his 300 Win Mag. He shoots so much, he shot out that barrel, and he picked the load, and it's going real well for him. So actually, secret podcast content. Doc has a very special gun coming in, hopefully within the next month. That is carbon fiber, and we'll leave it at that. So,
I bet you it's that new 308.
Yeah, so, well, this wraps up episode 200 of the John 1911 Podcast. If you want to see any stories or pictures of links of anything we discussed, please go to our website, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
It's night. Bye-bye.
It is night. And you know what, America? Everything's going to be fine.
Yes, it will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.